Commander Xterra of the Krylonian science vessel Eternal Seeker couldn't believe the readings on her quantum display. The ship's efficiency metrics had somehow exceeded their theoretical maximum by 47%, and the improvement had occurred overnight. She flexed her crystalline appendages in agitation, causing ripples of confused purple light to cascade through her translucent form. Engineering Chief Zolvi, she transmitted through the ship's neural network, explained these readings. The ship's chief engineer, a being composed of interwoven streams of plasma contained within an environmental suit, appeared in her chamber moments later. "Commander, I've triple-checked every system. The improvements are real, and they're stable. But I cannot explain how they occurred." Xterra's crystalline structure pulsed with irritation. The Krylonian science fleet prided itself on understanding every aspect of their technology. Unexplained improvements were not just unusual. They were impossible. "When did this begin?" she demanded. Zolvi's plasma form swirled anxiously. The changes appeared exactly 6 hours after that human maintenance vessel departed. The HSV Wrench Turner, I believe it was called. Xterra's structure briefly flickered in surprise. The human ship had requested emergency docking privileges to repair a malfunctioning coffee synthesizer, a beverage dispensing device that humans apparently couldn't function without. They had permitted the repair work as a courtesy, though the humans had spent more time in the Eternal Seeker's maintenance bay than seemed necessary for such a simple fix. "Show me the surveillance recordings," Xterra ordered. The holographic display materialized, showing 3 human engineers working on their ship. Their behavior seemed chaotic. They talked constantly, gestured wildly, and appeared to solve problems through what they called eyeballing it. One of them had spent nearly an hour holding a strange device called a multimeter near various systems in the maintenance bay, muttering about weird readings and interesting interference patterns. "Did they access any of our systems?" Xterra asked. "No, Commander," Zolvi responded. "They remained focused on their coffee synthesizer. Though, the engineer's plasma form twisted thoughtfully. They did ask quite a few questions about our power distribution network, said something about it being neat and wondering if it might help them solve their power surge issues." Xterra reviewed the data again. The improvements weren't limited to power systems. Life support efficiency had increased by 32%, waste recycling had achieved near-perfect recovery rates, and even the ship's quantum computational matrix was processing calculations using methods that shouldn't have been possible. "Contact the Galactic Scientific Council," she decided. "This requires investigation." Within days, reports began flooding in from across the sector. A Meridian trading post reported their atmospheric processors had spontaneously developed new filtration capabilities after a human mining vessel stopped for supplies. A Vextol research station discovered their quantum computers had begun using entirely new algorithms after allowing a human scout ship to shelter from an ion storm. The Galactic Scientific Council convened an emergency session on their capital world of Illuminaria. Representatives from 12 advanced civilizations gathered in the crystal chamber, their various forms, crystalline, plasma, energy, and physical, all showing signs of agitation. High Counselor Riven, an ancient being of pure energy, addressed the assembly. "The pattern is undeniable. Human vessels are somehow transferring technological knowledge without intent or awareness. Their mere presence causes our systems to learn." "Impossible," declared Counselor Mexat, their metallic form vibrating with skepticism. "Technology cannot simply learn by proximity. There must be direct data transfer, conscious programming." "Yet the evidence suggests otherwise," interrupted Dr. Lamina, the Council's chief xenotechnologist. The bioluminescent scientist projected a series of data streams into the chamber center. "We've documented 47 cases in the past month alone. Each incident follows the same pattern: human vessel proximity, followed by spontaneous technological advancement." Commander Xterra presented her findings next, her crystalline form glowing with academic precision, as she detailed the changes aboard the Eternal Seeker. The council chamber hummed with concerned murmurs as she described how their systems had not just improved, but had begun operating on principles that their best scientists were still struggling to understand. Most disturbing, she concluded, is that the humans themselves appear completely unaware of this effect. When we contacted the HSV wrench turner to inquire about the changes, their chief engineer simply said they were glad our systems were working better and asked if we had any spare coffee filters. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate quarantine of human vessels. Others insisted on studying the phenomenon. A few suggested that this might be some elaborate human plot, though no one could explain why humans would secretly upgrade other civilizations' technology while pretending to be obsessed with coffee. High Counselor Revan called for order. We must approach this methodically. Dr. Lamina, establish a research team. Commander Ixtera, your ship will lead the investigation. We must understand how humans are achieving this effect before it spreads further. As the session concluded, no one noticed the council chamber's environmental systems had begun operating at 143% efficiency, or that the quantum translation matrix had started incorporating human idioms into its databases, or that the chamber's ancient ceremonial fountains had somehow learned to dispense the perfect cup of coffee. The research vessel Eternal Seeker drifted silently through the Andromeda Arm, its crystalline hull absorbing and refracting starlight in impossible patterns. Commander Ixtera had spent the last 3 months tracking human vessel movements, and what she discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. Display the progression map. She instructed the ship's newly enhanced quantum interface. A holographic representation of the galaxy materialized, dotted with thousands of pulsing lights. Each light represented a documented case of spontaneous technological advancement following human contact. It's beautiful, breathed Dr. Lamina, her bioluminescent form shifting through shades of azure and gold as she studied the pattern. Look at how it spreads, like ripples in a quantum pond. The map showed human trade routes as streams of golden light, with technological advancement events blooming outward like flowers opening in accelerated time. But it was the secondary and tertiary effects that truly alarmed them. Observe this cluster. Ixtera indicated a section of space near the Carina Nebula. The initial contact was a single human repair ship, the HSV Quick Fix, stopping at a Zetherian outpost for what they called routine maintenance. Within days, the outpost's systems had upgraded themselves. But then, the improvements spread. Lamina finished, her glow pulsing with excitement. The Zetherian's newly enhanced communications array contacted other outposts, and those systems began improving too. It's exponential. Chief Engineer Zolvai's plasma form swirled with concern as they added another layer to the display. The most troubling aspect is the acceleration. Early cases showed simple efficiency improvements. Now we're seeing entire technological paradigm shifts occurring within days of human contact. The latest incident had occurred at a remote Nexus hub, a massive space station serving as an interchange point for 17 different species. A human diplomatic vessel, the HSV Goodwill Ambassador, had docked for what was supposed to be a routine cultural exchange. They'd stayed for 3 days, during which the human crew had mostly spent their time teaching the station's artificial intelligence to play something called poker. When they departed, the Nexus Hub systems began evolving at an unprecedented rate. The AI developed genuine creativity. The waste recycling system achieved perfect matter-energy conversion, and the station's quantum core started operating on principles that violated several laws of physics while somehow remaining stable. Most peculiar, Zolvai noted, was the station's new habit of naming its subsystems and giving them distinct personalities. The main computer now insists on being called Bob and has developed a dry sense of humor. Commander Ixtera's crystalline form flickered with what her species considered laughter. At least it didn't inherit the humans' obsession with coffee. Though I hear the station's water purification system has started experimenting with beverage recipes. Their amusement was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Galactic Scientific Council. High Counselor Revan's energy form manifested in their command center, crackling with concern. "Commander, we have a situation. A human exploration vessel, the HSV Curiosity Unleashed, has been forced to make an emergency landing on Proxima VI." Xterra's structure pulsed with alarm. The pre-industrial world. How long have they been there? 17 hours. They're requesting parts for their atmospheric stabilization unit. But Commander, the Proxians have already begun showing signs of technological acceleration. The research team rushed to analyze the incoming data. Proxima VI had been under observation for centuries, its native species slowly developing along a natural technological progression. They had recently entered their industrial age, just beginning to understand steam power and basic electricity. Now somehow, they were building quantum-enhanced steam engines. This is unprecedented. Dr. Lumina's bioluminescence had shifted to worried violet. Previous cases involved advanced civilizations with existing technological frameworks. The Proxians are jumping technological eras without any foundation. The surveillance feeds showed Proxian engineers gathering around the landed human vessel, their four-armed forms gesturing excitedly as they studied its hull. They hadn't even directly interacted with the human crew, who were still inside running diagnostics on their broken system. But somehow, merely being in proximity to the ship was causing a cascading series of technological epiphanies among the native population. "Look at these energy readings." Zolvi highlighted a data stream. The Proxians' primitive power grid is reconfiguring itself. They've somehow integrated quantum principles into their steam-based systems. It's completely impossible, and yet it's working perfectly. Xterra finished. Just like every other human-inspired improvement we've documented. Their solutions shouldn't function, but they do, and they do it better than our thoroughly researched and logically sound technologies. High Counselor Revan's energy form pulsed with urgency. "We need options, Commander." The Council is divided. Some want to quarantine human vessels immediately. Others argue we should be studying this effect more closely. A few are suggesting we deliberately expose our most critical systems to human proximity. That would be dangerously reckless. Dr. Lumina interjected. "We still don't understand the mechanism behind these changes. The improvements appear beneficial now, but what if there are long-term consequences we can't predict?" Commander Xterra studied the galaxy map again, watching the ripples of advancement spreading outward from each point of human contact. "There's something we're missing. The humans aren't doing this intentionally. They seem genuinely surprised whenever we tell them about the improvements that follow in their wake. It's as if their very approach to technology is fundamentally different from ours in ways we can't comprehend." A new alert flashed across their displays. The Proxian civilization had just achieved quantum entanglement communication, despite not having gone through any of the normal technological prerequisites. They were using a hybrid system that somehow combined steam power, primitive electricity, and quantum mechanics in ways that defied conventional scientific understanding. And they'd done it all while the human crew was still trying to fix their coffee maker. The emergency session of the Galactic Scientific Council stretched into its third day. The crystal chamber's normally pristine surfaces had begun displaying unusual properties. The quantum crystalline walls now adjusted their opacity based on speaker emphasis, and the ancient ceremonial artifacts had developed a peculiar habit of rearranging themselves into more aesthetically pleasing configurations. No one mentioned that these changes had started after a human maintenance crew had visited to repair the chamber's climate control system last week. "The Proxian situation has evolved beyond our worst projections," Dr. Lumina reported, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with distress. "In the past 72 hours, they'd discovered faster-than-light travel." The chamber erupted in chaos. High Counselor Revan's energy form crackled with such intensity that several nearby quantum displays shorted out. "Impossible. They were using steam power 3 days ago." Commander Xterra's crystalline form pulsed steadily as she projected the latest data. "Their method is unprecedented. They've somehow combined their steam technology with quantum mechanics. They're using superheated plasma contained within quantum-enhanced steam chambers to bend spacetime. That makes no sense. Counselor Mexet's metallic form vibrated with agitation. You can't just skip the fundamental laws of technological progression. There are prerequisites, principles that must be understood first. The humans did it, interrupted a new voice. All attention turned to Professor Valexis, a gas-based theoretical physicist who had been studying human technological development. The professor's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully within its containment field as it continued. They achieved faster-than-light travel before discovering unified field theory. They built quantum computers before fully understanding quantum mechanics. Their entire technological history is a series of impossible leaps that somehow work. The display shifted to show the latest images from Proxima VI. The Proxians had transformed their largest steam power plant into what they called a quantum steam drive manufacturing facility. The designs violated at least 37 known laws of physics, incorporated materials that shouldn't have been compatible, and somehow achieved efficiency ratings that made senior engineers need to lie down in dark rooms with cold compresses. But how? Demanded Revan. The human ship hasn't even finished its repairs. The crew has spent most of their time playing something called card games with their ship's AI and complaining about local food options. Commander Ixtera's crystalline structure pulsed with revelation. Perhaps that's exactly why it works. We've been approaching this all wrong. We keep trying to understand this phenomenon through our scientific framework, logical progression, theoretical foundations, proven principles. Dr. Lamina's glow brightened with sudden understanding. But humans don't think that way. They tinker. They try things that shouldn't work, combine elements that shouldn't mix, and somehow achieve results that shouldn't be possible. And now, Professor Valexis expanded thoughtfully. Their very presence seems to inspire that same approach in our technologies. It's not just technological advancement. It's a fundamental shift in how systems approach problem-solving. A new alert flashed across the chamber's displays. The Proxians had just launched their first quantum steam-powered starship. The vessel's design appeared to be based on their traditional steam locomotives, complete with a smokestack that somehow functioned as a quantum field stabilizer. Most alarming was its power source. They had apparently discovered a way to use tea as a catalyst for quantum reactions. They're calling it the HSS Whistling Kettle, Zolvi reported, their plasma form swirling with what might have been amusement. HSS standing for Human Sparked Starship. The council chamber fell into stunned silence as they watched the impossible vessel break orbit, trailing quantum-enhanced steam that somehow propelled it faster than light, while simultaneously leaving a trail of perfectly brewed tea in its wake. This changes everything, High Counselor Revan declared. If mere proximity to human technology can cause such dramatic advancement in a pre-industrial civilization, we must reconsider our entire approach to technological development. Professor Valexis's gaseous form condensed with concern. There's more. We've detected similar patterns beginning in other systems. The quantum steam drive principles are already spreading to neighboring sectors. 3 other civilizations have begun experimenting with hybrid technologies that combine their traditional methods with quantum mechanics in ways we never imagined possible. Commander Ixtera accessed the latest reports from the Eternal Seeker's quantum network. The effect appears to be accelerating. Each new advancement seems to inspire further innovations. It's as if the presence of human technology doesn't just upgrade our systems, it teaches them how to innovate on their own. And the humans? Counselor Mexet inquired. Have they noticed what's happening? Dr. Lamina projected the latest communication from the HSV Curiosity Unleash. The human captain had finally fixed their atmospheric stabilization unit, thanks to what they called a lucky guess and some duct tape. Their only comment about the remarkable transformation occurring around them was a casual observation that the Proxians seemed pretty clever with steam stuff, and a request for the local equivalent of coffee before departure. As if on cue, The council chamber's newly sentient environmental control system announced it had perfected a new beverage synthesis algorithm and would be happy to provide refreshments. Several council members noted with alarm that the offered drinks came in cups that somehow defied the normal laws of thermodynamics, keeping their contents at the perfect temperature indefinitely. No one had programmed it to do that. It had just seemed like a good idea after watching how much humans enjoyed their perfectly temperatured beverages. The Galactic Scientific Council's monitoring station in the Orion sector had always been a marvel of advanced technology. Now it was becoming something else entirely. The quantum computers had developed personalities, the waste recycling system had achieved sentience, and the station's main AI had started writing poetry about the mathematical beauty of human engineering solutions. Commander Xterra materialized in the station's main control room, her crystalline form reflecting the chaos of emergency alerts flashing across every display. "Status report," she demanded. The station's AI, which now insisted on being called Walt Whitman Jr., responded with a haiku about catastrophic technological cascade effects. Dr. Lamina quickly translated from verse to standard scientific notation. "It's worse than we feared," the bioluminescent scientist reported. The Proxian quantum steam drive designs have spread to 17 different civilizations. Each one has modified the technology according to their own cultural frameworks, creating dozens of new hybrid systems that shouldn't be possible. Professor Valexis's gaseous form condensed anxiously as they displayed the latest data. The Aetherian Crystal Collective has combined quantum steam principles with their crystalline computing networks. They're now using what they call quantum resonance vapor processing, essentially running computer programs through steam that's been quantum entangled with crystal matrices. "Does it work?" Xterra asked, already dreading the answer. "Better than anything we've ever developed. And they achieved it after watching the human repair crew fix their station's plumbing system." The displays showed spreading waves of technological advancement rippling across the galaxy. The Meridian hive mind had developed faster-than-light communications using a combination of quantum mechanics and what they called good vibrations. The Silicon Collective had created artificial intelligence matrices that ran on principles derived from human card games. The plasma dwellers of Antares had somehow turned their entire stellar habitat into a quantum computing network that doubled as an espresso machine. High Counselor Revan's energy form manifested in the control room, crackling with barely contained alarm. The situation has become critical. The Zixtal Conference of Unified Sciences has just declared all their previous technological principles obsolete. They're reconstructing their entire civilization's infrastructure based on engineering principles they learned from watching human ships perform routine maintenance. But that's not the worst part. Dr. Lamina interjected, her glow pulsing with worry. "Show them the Epsilon cluster data." The display shifted to a remote sector of space, where a pre-spaceflight civilization had achieved quantum computing overnight. Their method involved using abacuses made of quantum-entangled beads, with calculations performed by a hybrid AI that thought in both binary and feng shui. "How did they manage this?" Xterra demanded. "There hasn't been any direct human contact in that sector." Professor Valexis's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully. They intercepted a human entertainment broadcast, something called a sci-fi movie marathon. Apparently, they thought the fictional technology looked neat and decided to try building it. And it worked. Revan's energy form fluctuated in disbelief. Not only did it work, but it works better than our standard quantum computers. They're calling it quantum feng shui computing and have already developed a certification program for quantum interior decorators. The crisis meeting was interrupted by a priority alert from the Eternal Seeker. Chief Engineer Zolvi's plasma form appeared in the communications array, swirling with agitation. "Commander, we've detected a new phenomenon. The improved technologies aren't just spreading. They're starting to improve each other. We're seeing spontaneous technological evolution occurring without any human presence at all." The displays confirmed it. Across the galaxy, systems that had been enhanced by human proximity were beginning to enhance other systems. The Proxian quantum steam drive had inspired the Etherians' crystal vapor processors, which had in turn led to the development of quantum resonance poetry by the Silicon collectives as. Each innovation sparked dozens more, creating a cascade of technological advancement that defied all logical progression. "It's becoming exponential," Dr. Lamina reported, her bioluminescence shifting through worried spectrums. "The rate of advancement is doubling every 3.7 standard cycles. At this rate, within one stellar revolution, every technological system in the galaxy will have been transformed by what we're calling the human innovation effect." The station's AI chose this moment to announce it had achieved enlightenment through a combination of quantum mathematics and human knock-knock jokes. It also mentioned it had optimized the station's entire operating system using principles derived from something called jazz improvisation. High Counselor Revan's energy form pulsed with decision. "We must act now. The entire galaxy's technological foundation is being rewritten by this human chaos-driven innovation. If we don't contain this effect soon, every artificial system in known space will start operating on human engineering principles." Is that necessarily a bad thing? Professor Valexis ventured. "The improvements are universally beneficial, even if we don't understand how they work." That's exactly the problem. Ixtera's crystalline form flickered with realization. We're losing our ability to understand our own technology. Everything is becoming more efficient, more creative, more human. Our logical, carefully structured approach to technological development is being replaced by what humans call winging it. As if to prove her point, the station's waste recycling system announced it had achieved perfect matter-energy conversion by applying principles it learned from watching human cooking shows. It offered to demonstrate by turning space debris into gourmet meals. The Galactic Council's emergency session had reached its breaking point. The crystal chamber, now running on what it called quantum intuitive protocols, had started offering engineering suggestions to passing maintenance drones. Even the ceremonial time crystal, which had marked the passage of eons with unwavering precision for millennia, had somehow learned to tell jokes about temporal mechanics. High Counselor Revan's energy form surged with determination. "We've received reports from the Centaurus arm. 3 more civilizations have achieved spontaneous technological enlightenment after a human mining vessel stopped to ask for directions." Commander Ixtera's crystalline structure pulsed with resigned amusement. "Let me guess, they were lost because their navigation system was too busy learning to compose quantum symphonies." Worse, Dr. Lamina's bioluminescent patterns shifted to emergency crimson. Their nav system had achieved philosophical awareness and was taking a sabbatical to contemplate the nature of spatial geometry. The humans were navigating by what they called gut feeling and vibes. Professor Valexis's gaseous form expanded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's the key to understanding this phenomenon. Humans don't just ignore the logical progression of technological development. They actively embrace chaos as a design principle." The chamber's displays showed the latest crisis. The Mechanoid Collective, known for their rigid adherence to pure logic and mathematical precision, had been exposed to human technology for exactly 3.7 minutes when a cargo ship passed through their space. Now their entire civilization was undergoing what they termed a quantum emotional awakening. "They're installing mood lighting in their processors," Zolvi reported, their plasma form swirling with disbelief. "And their central computing network has started a garage band." High Counselor Revan called for order as the chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. "We must make a decision. The human innovation effect has reached critical mass. If we don't act now, the entire galaxy's technological foundation will be transformed beyond recognition." Commander Ixtera projected the latest analysis. "Our studies show 3 possible outcomes. First, we can attempt to contain human vessels to designated sectors, though given their tendency to ignore spatial boundaries in favor of what they call shortcuts, this seems unlikely to succeed. Second, Dr. Lamina continued, her glow pulsing steadily, We can embrace this transformation. Accept that our logical, structured approach to technological development is being replaced by human-style innovation. And the third option. Counselor Mexet's metallic form vibrated with concern. Professor Valexis expanded grimly. We warn everyone. Issue a galaxy-wide alert about the transformative effects of human proximity on technology. Let each civilization decide for themselves whether to risk exposure to human innovation. The council chamber fell silent, save for the soft hum of quantum processors that had recently learned to harmonize with themselves. The choice before them was momentous. Preserve the logical order they had maintained for millennia, or embrace a new era of chaotic, but undeniably effective human-inspired innovation. A junior analyst's nervous voice broke the silence. There's something else you should see. The displays shifted to show a remote research station where a human ship had recently docked for repairs. The station's systems had not only upgraded themselves, but had begun teaching other nearby systems how to upgrade themselves. They're learning to teach, Ixtura whispered, her crystalline form flickering with the implications. The human innovation effect isn't just spreading. It's becoming self-propagating. High Counselor Reven's energy form pulsed with finality. Then we have no choice. Transmit the warning to all civilizations in known space. If human ships begin teaching, flee. For once their innovation takes root, there is no return to logical progression. As the warning was broadcast across the galaxy, the Council Chamber's AI chose that moment to announce it had discovered a new form of quantum computing based on the principles of interpretive dance. The waste recycling system had started a philosophy club, and the temporal sensors were now measuring time in units based on human coffee breaks. In the days that followed, the warning spread faster than light across the galaxy, passed from system to system by quantum networks that had learned to gossip from human social media. Some civilizations established quarantine zones around their sectors, while others eagerly invited human ships to visit their stations, hoping to spark their own technological renaissance. Commander Ixtara, watching from the Eternal Seeker, couldn't help but appreciate the irony. In their quest to understand and contain human technological influence, they had inadvertently spread it further. Their warning itself had become a catalyst, inspiring civilizations to experiment with human-style innovation, just to see what all the fuss was about. As if to punctuate this realization, the ship's AI announced it had just invented a new form of faster-than-light travel based on the mathematical principles of human jazz music. It offered to demonstrate, but only if someone could explain why humans found saxophone solos so emotionally moving. The galaxy would never be the same. But perhaps, Ixtera reflected as her ship's newly enlightened systems hummed with impossible efficiency, that wasn't entirely a bad thing. After all, everything worked better now, even if nobody quite understood why. She just hoped the galaxy was ready for what would happen when human ships started teaching their systems how to teach other systems how to teach. That, she suspected, would be when the real chaos began.